Hello dear friends of Philipp von Rosen Gallery. I'm pleased to welcome you to our new spaces at Gertrudenstraße 24 to 28 in the center of Cologne. It has been a really long time since our last film. On the one hand, because the corona pandemic is over, and so the pressure to produce new films was less. On the other hand, we already moved out of our old rooms at the end of December 2022 and only opened in the new rooms at the end of April with the current exhibition Straight Flush. Come on in and see the full spectrum of artists at Philipp von Rosen Gallery. This is the first time after 17 years of running the gallery that we have actually included all of the artists in one exhibition. Straight Flush is an effort to make a functioning exhibition out of 17 positions that seem heterogeneous. This is possible because these positions are connected by two denominators that define the gallery's work. On the one hand, the media-reflexive analysis of one's own medium and its modes of operation. On the other hand, we show artists that are interested in political, social questions. In this exhibition, we show artworks also in the entrance area. You can see a small canvas by Jelena Popova, a sculpture by Bas de Wit, two wall works by Arcangelo Sassolino, a tapestry by Jelena Popova, and last but not least, a wall installation by Nick Hess, behind me. Jelena Popova's tapestry Clepsydra shows a stylized water clock, a device that was already used in antiquity to measure time. But of course Popova also alludes to water cycles, water scarcity and water pollution when she presents us with an object that alludes to the proverbial ticking of the clock. Nick Hess, who we last showed with collages, has made a name for himself primarily with wall installations made of adhesive tape. We are grateful that he has created an installation for our gallery with this intuitive power of effect, which adjusts to the respective location and which shows all his sovereignty in dealing with the stubborn material of adhesive tape. It is possible to have such installations set up privately, and this is even possible in consideration of the personal iconography of the people living with the work, should you be tempted. You may have seen Arcangelo Sassolino at the last Venice Biennial in the Arsenale with his enormous installation with steel dripping into water basins. His wall works, Sporco Italiano and Lasciarci le Penne, come from our solo exhibition that we were able to realize 1 year ahead in 2021 with the help of the Stiftung Kunstfonds and the Neustart Kulturprogramm. At that time, we had shown a huge and very strong fan. With the help of this, Sassolino had blown swept up dirt from his studio or pigeon feathers found and collected in the vicinity of his studio into metal lattice constructions and fixed them there. In our first exhibition space, we show Koen van den Broek, Cody Choi, Marcus Huema, Javier Tellez and Bas de Wit. Bas de Wit's pair of columns, Grow with the Flow, as well as his sculpture in funny memory of Alexander, can be shown outside. Both are made of pigmented resin and fiberglass, and both take aim at the bourgeois need to adorn oneself with antique magnificence and to refer to oneself, the dictum of silent simplicity and quiet grandeur. In his two paintings, Noblesse Hybridage, Cody Choi fuses two different forms of depicting plants. The European way of painting a bouquet of flowers, as known from the 19th century by Henri Fontaine-Latour or Paul Cézanne, and the traditional Asian way of the so-called Surgunya style. In this way, he crosses European and Asian culture, just as he himself has lived in very different cultures. To show the differences and to work on them is an eminently important theme for Choi. Marcus Huema has also painted plants, hop plants. Here, again, he draws on images he found on the internet and mixed them together to create new compositions. We think we see realistic images of hop plants, but in fact we see artificial constructs that also recall the grotesques, painted ornamental forms known from the Vatican museums in Rome, among other places. The absurd picture titles, for example, Otters Hate Bridges, do their part to make clear that the aim here is not really to depict plants as true to nature as possible. Koen van den Broek creates paintings based on his own photographs, which he translates more or less one-to-one into paintings. These are often rather odd situations, hardly worthy of a painting, as in Blinds number 6, where he photographed through the blinds and the window of a bathroom in a motel in California. We see a blade of the blinds, and behind it, presumably another building, its house wall and roof. The reference to Leon Battista Alberti's idea that a painting should function like a view through a window is evident. At the same time, Van den Broek undermines the representation of perspective space, for the painting seems more like an abstract collection of stripes. Javier Tellez is a Venezuelan-born, New York-based artist whose installation and film La Conquista de Mexico you may have seen in 2012 at Documenta 13, curated by Caroline Christoph Bakargiev. Tellez is the son of two psychotherapists. He grew up in a respective clinic and, as an artist, is concerned with questions of normality. His photographic diptychs, showing actors from his film Oedipus Martial, allow the mentally ill protagonists of Sophocles' tragedy, transferred into a Western scenario, to show their true faces, after they previously had to play hidden behind masks, as was customary in Greek theatre. The result is very intimate and touching portraits of these people who had to work very hard to make the film and who were very proud and satisfied to do so. In our second, largest exhibition space, we are showing, among other things, a column by Martin Garves. We have already posted a film on YouTube about a very similar work. I take the liberty of referring to it and otherwise asking you to actually or mentally walk around the work and experience the color changes. This is a sensory experience of a special kind. By Jonas Maas and Florian Schmidt, we show one large painting each. In their abstraction and reduction, the works seem to be comparable to the spatial painting of Martin Garves. And they certainly are, but they are not similar. For while Garves creates the aforementioned sensual experience, Jonas Maas, despite the warm colors of yellow and red employed, radiates a coldness that surely has to be related to the digital basis of the work. At the same time, he refers to the picture or painting constituents. And he also employs negative elements by milling the excess created with the image processing program out of the surface. Florian Schmidt's untitled Device 15, on the other hand, stands between Garves and Maas. Here, the conceptual basis is a photograph Schmidt shot in the cinema of the MUMOG in Vienna, of a corner of the room and the ceiling of the hall. Total abstraction in two colors and concrete forms only allow the room to be guessed at. What can be seen above all is an almost expressive constellation of carefully cut and painted pieces of cardboard. In his two collages, Nick Hess uses signs, logos or art historical works for the composition of the works, which he deprives of their sign value, the signified. New compositions are thus created that do not have much to do with the signifiers used. At the same time, one can see, for instance in Margaret, a double game with references. For on the one hand, Roy Lichtenstein has already paraphrased Van Gogh, on the other hand, Hess paraphrases Lichtenstein. The three scribble drawings by Ignacio Uriarte have in common that they show gradations, which means repetitions of forms, triangles, circles and rectangles. Scribbling is something many people do during boring conference calls, but our normal doodles have nothing to do with the meticulousness we experience in Ignacio Uriarte's scribbling. One might think that the formations Uriarte creates have an additional meaning and point us to something, but that is not the case. Rather, they are systems invented by Uriarte that are actually meaningless. Whether one reads this as a criticism of our office life or primarily as an aesthetic composition lies in the eye of the beholder. Christoph Mascher's works, as classical paintings on canvas, seemingly diverge from the other works from this room. However, the moment of the narrative, the supposed interpretability of his works, the coherence of what is represented are repeatedly undermined by Christoph Mascher. We think we can read and understand something, but in fact it is above all an almost abstract or better concrete composition that, one could say, accidentally takes on legible forms. The third and last exhibition room again spans an arc between works already shown in the initial phase of the gallery and current works. In our room for video, we had already shown Corinna Schnitt's masterpiece Hello Mrs. Schnitt in 2006. In just a few minutes, she depicts for us the entire horror of German petty bourgeoisie with simple black and white images of herself cleaning her apartment and the stairwell that goes with it, and with a soundtrack on which she plays the mooling and squawking and agonizing voices of her landlords. The group of 18 family photographs from 1997 to 1998 is equally disturbing. Here we see the artist absorbed in very different families, slithering into the family photographs. But these are not morphed, digitally altered images as we can easily create today, but rather Schnitt's acting ability to adapt to each environment and life situation like a chameleon. Rebecca Antes, who has most recently focused on architecture and urbanism in her photographs, gives us a glimpse of her upcoming exhibition, which we plan to open at the end of the year, with 5 recent works from the series 2D Body, 3D Code, created as part of a travel project grant from Künstlerhaus Schloss Balmoral. This series is about the relationship of humans to nature, to natural matter, and to our perception of that matter. Tess charges the process of perception, transforming seemingly unimportant matter into something with slightly mystical meaning, and in this way allows us to participate in nature differently than the usual gaze of the hiker or walker does. A final photographic position is the work of Anna Malagrida from the series of Vitrinen. This group of works was created in 2008 and 2009 when, after the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers Bank in the United States, the world fell into a major economic crisis. In Paris, where this photograph was shot, numerous stores were forced to close as a result. Their shop windows were often painted with the so-called Blanco d'Espagne to prevent potential burglars from looking through the window to see what there might be to steal. Rue Ballard 2 shows us such a painted window. At the bottom, we see abstract painting that emphasizes the two-dimensionality of the picture plane. Above, we see into the depth of a perspective space. Here, then, originally painterly qualities are juxtaposed with those of photography. By the way, the already mentioned view through the window is what, as Leon Battista Alberti wrote in the 15th century, painting should imitate. Here, however, we see abstract painting and a view on the window. Malagrida alludes to this too, of course. I would like to close this film with a few remarks about Silke Albrecht, her painting Body Bond No. 2 and a group of drawings in ink on paper. In such drawings, Albrecht makes the female body, romantic relationships and the problems that may arise in such relationships her subject. Drawing-wise, she does this with illusions that are complemented by texts typed on a typewriter. For example, under a self-portrait with downcast eyes, virtually crossed out by a crutch also drawn, it reads, "Why couldn't I ever have a romantic relationship before?" Such drawings serve as models for current paintings for the embroideries they contain. The abstract paintings are thus charged with self-referential themes, but ones that also concern other women and human beings in general. So, that's it for today. As always, of course, we wish you to come and visit us. This has become much easier now that the gallery is located in the center of Cologne, very close to galleries such as Franz and Nadja van der Grinden and Gisela Kapitän, and just as close to the Walter Koenig bookstore. Parking spaces can be found in numerous parking garages in the immediate vicinity of the gallery, and finding a restaurant is no problem either. So, see you soon and best regards.